All right, we're back Tuesday night, live from Redhook here at the Function House. And tonight, we got some history on the show. We'd like to welcome Mr. Anthony Acid.
Hey, let's have a round of applause, right?
I wish we had the button to like, psh.
Hit it.
What's up, man?
What's going on?
It's been a
How are you?
while.
How are you?
Man.
I got to tell you, you guys have some setup here.
You like it?
I love it. These guys were fixing speakers about 5 minutes ago. I mean, they just know it. They're just moving around doing things.
Came out with the screw gun, the ladder
That's
was
it.
out.
The ladder was out. You were hooking stuff up.
Spare
I'm like,
woofers off the shelf.
hey, this guy pulled up brand new woofers. You had brand new woofers in the back. It's great, though. No, you got a great space. I love it.
Thanks.
You got to always be prepared.
You do have to be prepared, and you guys are prepared. See, you're the prepared one. You came in right away, jumped right at the speaker.
Well, I heard it.
He don't
Yeah.
even say hello. He just comes in, he
He
starts
just
doing
comes
it.
in and he makes moves.
I just stopped pointing fingers.
Yeah.
That's what Anthony always said.
Like a nice kick in the ass.
See, we should have did this back in the day on Bay Street. I had the spot on Bay Street. It was perfect. It was just like this. But none of this was going on with the live and the this and the that.
Yeah.
So, who knew?
Internet wasn't there yet.
No, it was there, but it wasn't like what it is now.
Yes.
It definitely is far beyond, obviously. But had it been like that, we would have had some time down there.
So-
a lot of people came through there, yeah.
So there's a lot of history.
Yes.
I want to know how you got started in the business.
How I got started. Well, I mean, that would be a forever story. But the short part was, I remember being at my house. There was someone was throwing out a bunch of gear. It was like tape machines, this, that, and the third. So I started pulling the gear into my garage, fixing it, and I started using it, which drew me in. And then from there, I went to drum machines, this and that. I mean, that's all preliminary stuff. But really, the start was, I remember in '88, I did a record with Frankie Bones. Well, we did 2 or 3 records. Me, Frankie Bones, Tommy Musto, Lenny D. It was when 4th and Broadway. You remember 4th and Broadway?
I do.
You remember that label,
Yeah.
right? New Grooves and all that. So I did this record, Rockin' Boogie Down. And then we also did Just As Long As I Got You, which was a big record. It was a big overseas record. It got licensed to Deconstruction, and it was like off to the races. Which I didn't know there were races, but because this was really early on.
So we're talking about like 80s?
It was like '88.
I was 8.
You were 8. And you?
I was 11. No, I was
So-
10. I was 10. I was born in 78.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so this was in '88, and then, yeah, I remember he called me and he was like, look, they want us to do a couple things overseas over in London. I hadn't been anywhere. So I was like, yeah, oh, sounds great. You get off the plane and there's 20,000 people at a rave. You're like, what?
You're like, hey,
It was
what's
great.
up,
It was-
Anthony?
Yeah.
So,
It was great. We made a lot of great friends, and it was in the beginning of everything. So everything was new. I mean, you know, you could put a kick drum down on vinyl and you have a monster record.
Yep.
So it was all pretty new, and sampling was new.
so you were DJing at the time, plus you were producing.
Yeah, I started DJing. That's what I started mobile. Obviously, everybody starts in mobile. I mean, a lot of people started mobile
Some people go back to it.
back then. Yeah, you're right, and it's a great business.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous now.
Now
The
it is,
prices
yeah.
are insane for DJs.
Yeah.
You guys should come down on your prices. You're too ahead.
You've heard.
But yeah, back then it was, you know, we put together a DJ company, and I went from that. It was a natural transition into I have to get out of the mobile stuff. Not that I have to get out of it, but I really wanted to get into the club.
But that's what it was back then. That's how it was.
It was. You started that way. I mean, and then you went right into, you tried your best to get right into the clubs. And like I said, in the beginning, everything was new. So anything you touched would be like you created the wheel. You know, whatever it might be. You could do a track literally with just drums in it, and it would work.
So the first musical genre you were involved in was trance music.
Well, no, I would say the first musical genre I was involved in was house music. It was just house music.
Okay.
That was it. It was 4 on the floor. It wasn't. They really didn't have. I don't want to. I can't say that it was a genre. It was more of just straight up house music.
Yeah.
I mean, it grew into like a trancey thing and this and that. But
Where did the name Acid come from?
I'm glad you asked me that. No one, not a lot of people ask me that. Which my mother hates the name. Just let me put that out there.
I think
so
every
at
mother
least
would hate the name.
Yeah, she hated the name. It was. I mean, the way it came about was.
It was all that acid you did?
No, I did no drugs. No. The way it came about was, I'll never forget it. It was me and my cousin Mike. Lord Mike was the promoter for Limelight, and Tunnel and all of that.
Yeah.
And we were in. This is a crazy story. We were in a radiator shop because his father owned a radiator shop, and he was like, "You're Anthony." He took my initials because I played a lot of acid house music at the time. And he was like, ACID, Anthony Caputo Instant Dance. It sounds very corny, but when you take away all that and you just have Anthony Acid, it sounds cool.
Yeah, it does.
So that's where that came from.
And that stuck ever since.
It stuck. And actually, in the beginning, I think on the very first record I did, it was Lil Anthony Acid, because Lil was a big thing. You had Lil Lewis, you had a couple of Littles out there.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then I said, you know what, let's get away from that, just keep it DJ.
Lil
Anthony
was
Acid.
trending.
It was
trending for a while.
big then. Yeah, it was definitely trending, as they said. Yeah, it was LIL. I remember, I think it was on 2 or 3 records I did in the beginning, and then I got rid of that.
Well, it's a great name. Anthony Acid was a staple for a long time in New York City nightlife.
Everybody knew that name.
I mean, look, there was some parties that you played that we used to go out every week to these parties. Expo, Limelight.
Yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah.
It was so great back then. I mean, every week you had a club to go to.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of big clubs.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of little clubs and a lot of bottle service. It is what it is. Back then you had, you were going in for the vibe. You were going in for the music. You wanted to go there and hear what he was playing. He was the only person, that specific DJ, that had that record at the time.
More Than Life.
More Than Life, the record that will never go away, which were a lot of years later, but yeah, More Than Life is I can walk into a bar and hear that record. It's
So
just,
would you say that's the biggest record that you've done?
I on a commercial end,
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
that commercially, it's the biggest, definitely.
Yeah, that's a monster record.
It's a
Yeah,
monster
everyone knows.
record, yeah.
Everybody knows that. It's. I can walk into a wedding, sit in the corner, not knowing they won't know I'm there, and it'll get played.
Well, that's a huge borough song, so it's a big Brooklyn, Staten
it
Island,
is.
Bronx, Queens, like
Mhm.
that song. And I mean, even young kids know that song.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it is a borough record. I agree with that 100%.
You know?
It's not like it's spread out and it was one of these records that you pull today where it got notoriety all over the place. It was actually pre all that.
You see, that's the thing too. Like, you make a record like that now, and you're touring all over the world for it.
It's true, you are. I mean, a record like that will take you everywhere.
Yep.
And this was pre that. I mean, they weren't really playing house music on the radio. I
Right.
think actually after More Than Life was I'm Not in Love, and then the Samantha Mumba. And Samantha Mumba actually got radio play. I remember that had some rotation.
I never understood why they didn't play Jana on KTU.
I don't either.
I never
I think it
understood
should have been
that.
played.
Because
I do.
I said, that was a perfect record to cross over and be mainstream on the radio.
It could have been like one of those first ones.
Yes.
Because it had enough in it that it could be. It was a commercial record. I mean,
Yeah.
it is. Not when it was out. I mean, obviously we were in Sound Factory, and it was a crazy record. It was played for an hour straight.
Yes.
But an edited version of that, which I did a radio edit. That could have been
I
one
never
of those.
understood that.
I know. It's
I
just
never
it's
understood that.
timing. I mean, it isn't life timing anyway. It's always
Yeah,
timing.
It is. It is.
So we were ahead of the time. We really were. I mean, that whole era, that whole More Than Life era, I feel like all the records that came out were, we were a little bit ahead.
Yep.
Just a little bit.
That was a big era of music.
It was. I think of good music.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
a
not
lot
that
of-
there's music out that's great right now. I love it. But I think that when you go back to like what house records were, that was a good record. There were a lot of good records back then.
a lot of female vocal records at that time.
Vocals were big.
Yeah. Vocals were
Everything
big.
was. I mean, if even if you did the after hours clubs like Jonathan did, Sound Factory, you played vocals. You may not hear that now. You go to an after hours club or a heavily a club, tech house or whatever it might be.
Yep.
You're not hearing vocals.
No.
None.
You're not hearing anything.
You're not even hearing like one word.
No, you're not hearing no words, maybe 1 or 2 notes, and if God forbid you have anything more than that, you can't play it in that club.
And they're selling tickets like crazy for
Like
these
crazy.
parties.
It's insane, yeah. I mean, they are selling tickets like crazy.
So let's go through the list of some of these records that you made. I mean, you had More Than Life.
Well, what's your favorite record
Yeah,
that
what's
you
your
made?
My favorite record. I'm not gonna say More Than Life, so that's out. I love the record. I'm not gonna.
I don't think
walk
one
away from
DJ is
it.
gonna love their commercial hit.
I mean, it's a great. I love the record. I love the words. I love everything about it.
Well,
but
I mean, you have to be very proud of that record. 'Cause
I
it
am.
was-
I-
it
I-
was- it was
100%.
Very well done.
thank you.
I'm
Thank
sure. I'm
you.
sure
I
it
mean-
filled your mattress too. That record.
It did good for us. It was good. It was good. I don't know. For me, I like in my house, I like a lot of the early stuff I did. Bump was a big record in the clubs. It never really went further than that, but that was a huge record for me.
It was a big record.
That
I
was
remember
a-
playing that in my house, and my mother asking me, "What are they saying? What are they?" And I was like, bump the speakers.
Yeah,
Bump
that's a good one.
Bump the speakers.
Bump the speakers is what it should mean, but it wasn't from that.
Yeah, I know.
It was from, Cafe Coletti was going on at Expo, I believe it was at Expo on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
And I remember we came home one night, it was me and Mike, and he was like, why don't you do something with bump in it? Everybody's bumping, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. So we came back, I went back to the studio that night, and I had a sample from a record on Cutting Records, Al Nafish, and in the beginning of it, everybody used to cut It's Time. And I had that in, and my friend said bump, and I was like, you know what, let's just take that out. We don't have a sample, we'll just use It's Time to Bump. And that was actually the first record I did on Redline. So that was the first one on my label. Now, if you do a record, it only stays on your label. Nobody does records.
Nobody
Yeah.
trades records.
Yeah.
Nobody don't, yeah.
So,
Everybody has a record label these days.
Everybody.
Millions. Millions of record labels.
so what I found really interesting about you were in the house music game for a long time, producing house music. You still produce house music. You're building the studio, but you were in the studio with WuTang Clan for a long time.
Yeah.
What was that whole project like? What was
Well,
going
there
on?
were a few projects. And how that started was because Mike was managing Ghost.
Okay.
And he came to me when we were on Bay Street. Bay Street was a spot. Everybody out there, Bay Street, 32 Sand Street.
It's
It was a-
regentrifying now.
Yeah,
Bay Street.
yeah, it is actually.
It is,
I
yeah.
wish we had the place now. So he came to me down there and he was like, look, I manage Ghost. I want to record out of here. And we recorded, I think what was the first thing we did? I think it was the Pretty Tony album. And then from there, it was just everything. It was, from that point forward, we just did everything out of that room. From Fish Scales to Pretty Tony to whatever albums he had moving forward. And Wizard of Poetry. And I did a lot of projects on there. I did a lot of production on there. Because I always liked hip-hop.
Yep.
I mean, I liked hip-hop from the early days. You know, back in Limelight, Expo, you played house and you played hip-hop. You could
Yeah.
walk, you walked in one room, you had sick hip-hop, and it was all sample-based, which is what I like, which essentially, house music started there.
Yep.
Right? So you were sampling a lot of old disco records.
Yep.
So you start to hear hip-hop and you hear some familiar samples, and you're like, wow, this is dope. And then the way they sit on records is just unbelievable. Now it's a different story. It's a whole different animal with hip-hop. Is there hip-hop?
There is.
hip-hop.
It's like
I'm kidding.
Mumble rap.
It's a little bit more. Everybody calls it mumble rap, but you know what? They're doing what they like, and what I guess their crowd understands, and they're saying, you know what?
Generation. I mean,
It's
that's
a young
what it is.
generation. This is it. Maybe people looked at what we were listening to back then and said, "What are you listening to?"
Of course.
Of course
yeah,
they
had
yeah,
to.
they did.
But so that's how that came about. Mike came to me, and we just started from there. And Ghost, Raekwon, Method Man, RZA, everyone came through there. On top of everybody that they knew, like Tracy Morgan was in there for like a night straight, going crazy. He basically did like 3 comedy skits for us the whole night. It was
you
insanity.
had Bay Street popping.
Bay Street was insane. Sand Street, 32 Sands was the place to be. It was great. It was a good hangout. There was a good vibe. I had a lot of guys. All the guys that have been on this show came through Sand Street.
Yeah. I remember
Richie
coming there,
Peter.
really young coming there.
Sal Palm, if I don't say Sal Palm's name, he might hit me with a text right now. But all those guys came through, and it was great. I love it. I still am in contact with everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had a great time there because there was such a good energy, and everybody.
Sorry, bro.
Your phone?
Oh, you want to answer this?
In the middle, he wants a call in the middle of this. He didn't get enough.
should
li-
answer it, we should
He didn't
answer
get
it.
enough shine. Guy, put him on the phone. So we have Scribble on the phone in case.
Yo,
Of course, right? Everybody's saying, of course.
Yep.
Scribs.
Hello?
What's up, buddy?
Hi, buddy.
You're on a live feed, Scott.
Why are you into this
We're in the-
that I'm watching on the computer?
We're in the middle of the show.
Yeah, I thought I was watching it. Oh, look, it's Anthony. How
It's-
come he's
what
not
is he
mentioning
saying?
Scribble? So I thought he made me call up and try to find out why Anthony hasn't
I
mentioned
can't hear him.
You haven't mentioned his name yet.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me mention his name now. Scribble. How's that? We didn't get to you yet, Scott. Don't worry. You're in there. Don't worry.
I don't know. We talked about Bay Street. He hasn't said your name. I don't know.
We talked about more than life.
You know that.
Oh, that's right. More than life. Oh, Scribble, you did that with me, right? So there you go, scribble.
All right, we're gonna get to your segment right now, Scribs.
Yeah, I wanted to go up there and heckle him, but I had to stay home and watch the kids.
All right. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
So long.
Peace. So let's talk about Scribbles.
Okay.
How did that come about? How did you and Scribbles link up?
Okay, so I was down on Bay Street, right across the street from where the studio was Club Wave. Do you remember that?
I remember that
You remember
club,
that,
yeah.
right? So Dean Halterman is actually who I rented my building from when I was on Sand Street, and his club was directly across the street. I used to go there all the time. I would go there, I would DJ there, and one night I went there, and there's this kid in the booth. It was supposed to be Glenn Fisher because he did the show on, what it was, KTU, or not, whatever the station was then.
Yep.
So I walk in, and I see this kid. I'm like, who are you? He's like, who are you? I said,
Hot 97, the
it
Saturday
was
night
Hot 97.
dance party.
It was the Saturday Night Dance Party, and it was Glenn Fisher.
Yes.
And he was my man. And I used to always bring him records.
Yes.
And I see this kid up there. I'm like, who's this kid? Who the hell is this? He was like, who are you? I said, I'm Anthony. Who are you? Where's Glenn? So we went back and forth with the who are yous. And then he played that night. I got his number. He got my number, and we linked up that way. That was literally how we started. And I said, I liked the way he played. So I was like, why don't you give me a call during the week? Come by the studio, blah, blah, blah. It wound up that he came by the studio in Staten Island, and then he wound up moving in with me. I was like, oh, and now he lives with me. Now I can't get rid of him. Right? So, and I'm anal, a little bit anal. So, and he knows that. So he leaves his shit everywhere. And I'm like, you can't leave stuff all over the place. And it went on like that for probably, I think he was with me for like 2 years until I almost threw him out the window. and then he finally went back to Howard Beach. So yeah, that's how we
You
met.
guys became like a remixing, producing duo for a while, right?
We did, yeah. We were partners we had the MDMAs out, which
Yep.
I forgot about that. That
Yeah.
was another whole era.
All the traffic jams were made in your studio also,
Traffic jams were done at it, yeah.
right? Yep.
So we did the traffic jams, and from the traffic jams, we were like, you know what, we should do, nobody had done it at that time. There was no Louis DeVito album out, which Louis DeVito had his Big Mix CD.
Yep.
Prior to that, we had the MDMA, and we were like, let's give this, it's a great idea. And it did well.
Yep.
And we were on Warlock, I think we did over 500,000 units.
That's
Wow.
great.
We did good with that. That was a good CD.
So
And
that went under the mattress too.
That went
Man,
under.
you must be hitting the ceiling
probably
fan.
Went under Warlock's mattress because we didn't get all that money. I can tell you that. Who knows where he is? But yeah, it went probably under his mattress. But we did good with it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna complain.
Yeah.
It was early on. A lot of this stuff was early on, and you were hungry and you made mistakes.
Just wanted to get
You
shit
just
out.
wanted to get stuff out. You
And it
didn't
was a
care.
different game back then.
It was a different game.
There
Just-
wasn't as many people producing.
There weren't a lot of people, so it wasn't a real rat race. It was, there were people trying their hardest to get in, but it's early on you make mistakes.
Now you've also built up this reputation where people are coming to you to master their tracks.
Yeah, I do a lot of that. I'll do that I've done it for the years.
We've had plenty of people on the show that's like
yeah,
rebirthing.
Moody and Riz. I've done a lot of their mixes. And,
Yep.
and
Lodato.
and Lodato, he's my guy right now. He's the guy coming up. It's like, you go all the way to the top, be at the festival, stand on the stage. Because I don't want to say I'm not. I could still get up there and do that.
Yeah.
But it's perfect for him.
Yep.
So yeah, him, Moody, Riz, Plasmic Honey, Peter Bailey, Boris. I did a couple of Boris' CDs out of my studio. I forgot what they were called. I think they're called Believe.
Yeah.
His
Yeah,
CDs were
Believe,
called
yep.
Believe, yeah. We did a couple of those out of my place. So yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
a
you're the
lot of
go-to
guys
guy.
you had on here.
You are the go-to guy.
Yeah. Everybody's.
Well, I'm honored to be the go-to guy. I love it. I like being in.
Well, they said they feel bad for you, so.
They do feel bad for me. That's nice of them. That's it. They feel bad for me. I listen. I can be in the room all day long, just mixing and working.
love it.
I love it. I love it. And for me, it's my thing. I have to have a sanctuary. I have to have that spot to go to. I'll never get rid of my gear. It's always going to be there. I'm going to be 90, and I will go in the room, and I will do something.
So tell me about this new place this new studio you built.
So I moved out of Staten Island because there was so much traffic.
Yeah.
That's basically most of it.
Now you were born and raised in Staten Island.
I was born in Brooklyn, but
Okay.
we moved when I was, I guess, 12. So it was early. I was in Staten Island most of my life, 11 or 12. And yeah, I had the studio there for, I don't even know, 15, 20 years. And just recently we moved, I guess it's been a year. February will be a year. And I did a couple of other things when I moved out there. So I dismantled the studio and I had it in my closet, basically. You know, I just stored it in the house. And I said, let me put this aside now. And I did a store with a friend of mine in Seabright. I opened up a Ralph's just to have another business.
Yeah.
And we just broke ground in October to finish the studio. I'm just about done. I got my last order of Roxol, which I'm going out of my mind with all this Roxol I have. But I finally got my last order. I'm finishing it up. Big shout out to Tim, who did all my electric. And I want to take a shout out to Paul Breslin. Amazing if you need a contractor. He's great.
Nice.
So the studio's looking good. I mean, it's even better. Every time you build another one, it gets a little bit better.
Sure, you work out all the imperfections.
All the
of old
mistakes
one,
you made.
yeah, yeah.
Every mistake that you made along the way, you just fix.
All the wires are in the wall on this one, I'm hoping.
And this one, all the wires in the wall. There was one mistake I made with the internet, but I fixed that. Other than that, everything's in the wall. Basically, in your rack are all the wires because you're not running gear across the room anymore.
Yeah.
This is just, you have a lot in the box.
Yep.
I tend to have a lot of analog gear because I like the sound of it.
Yep.
So I have, my compressors and such and preamps, but keyboards I have a few. I just started collecting those now. That's a new thing I did. Brutal Bill, shout out to him. He's back on the analog trip. He's a guy I started with
Yeah.
way back in the
Are
day.
you still buying gear and plugins and all that
I
shit?
can't stop buying gear. I'm addicted. My wife yells at me every time I buy some gear. She wants shoes. That's like her new thing. That's like the thing. You buy a piece of gear, you got to buy me shoes. I'm like, no, I got to hide this. I try and make it where the delivery comes when she's at work, so that's why I sneak it in. And then I always say, no, I sold this to get that.
If it's software, you just download it.
Well, software's easy. You just download
Software they
that.
don't know about.
Software they can never find out about. That's
You don't
easy.
even know how much money he's spending on software.
It's the hardware that comes in the boxes. She sees the Sweetwater candy because they put candy in every box.
If you want, you could send it here.
No, I can't send that. My gear, I want it to be in the box with me.
We got room back there if you want to set something up.
You do. I want it in the box with me. Put my compressors and a couple of my keyboards and modules in there. And
So
I'm
you
good.
really never stopped working on music. You still.
I never really. No, I can't. It's impossible for me to stop. It's it's something that you love, and when it's something you love, it's just not going to die. Even if I make $0 with it, I'm still going to do it. Yeah, but I do because I do a lot of mix down work. I do a lot of engineering, a lot of recording. I recorded, like I said, all the Ghostface albums for the last 15 years. So yeah, it's not something and it's not something I want to stop. I never get bored with it.
Do
You
you
always
have-
learn with it.
Is there like a certain time of the day that you like to be in the studio? Like when you do this work, is it at night? Is it during the day? Is it?
Good question. It used to be only at night. We'd get up I'd get up in the afternoon. No, there was no morning, and I would, get lunch or
Work
whatever.
all
And then
night.
by the time I got down there, I would start working 7 or later, and then work till my eyeballs fell, and then I would go home. Now I like to work in the day.
Yeah.
I prefer it. It just depends on the person I'm working with because not everybody likes to work in the day. Ladato's a perfect example. He's a vampire. He doesn't know what the daytime is. So he only comes. I know that if I'm working with him, it's a 3 o'clock day, at least 3 by the time he gets there. Depending on if he wants to leave during traffic, because that's a big thing with people from Queens. They're worried about traffic. They don't want to
I'm a
leave during
morning
traffic.
guy. I love working, and during the day is my time.
I love the day. I grew into the day. I mean, obviously because everything we did it would involve nightlife.
Yeah.
So your clock is just that way. For me now, you get a little bit older. Obviously, you just get up. Your clock changes. It tells
Yeah,
you
I'm
you're
up early.
And it's
You want-
harder to stay up late at night.
Yeah, it is hard. Sometimes I
It
fall
is.
asleep on the couch. I never used to do that, but
It
I fall asleep on the
happens. Yeah,
couch
it
now.
happens.
I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm down here. I'm falling asleep at 9 o'clock. Except for with Scott Scribble. He'll call me, FaceTime me all day. That's all they do. So he'll keep me awake.
So is there anybody that's coming to the studio to work with you? Like you have people that hit you up, hey, we want to work on a record.
I have people all the time. I actually have this new kid that I'm working with starting in December, and that was another reason why I wanted to finish the room. He's coming in December 11th. He's based out of L.A. I believe it's L.A. His name is Ra. He's a hip-hop artist. He's new. I heard his stuff. It's great. I really like it. I think we're going to have a perfect session. I think we're going to lock up good. And we just he just contacted me recently, so that's a new person.
So he just hit you up out of the blue, like, hey.
Well, it wasn't totally out of the blue. It was my manager was working with someone that was working with them, and he said, "Look, I want you to listen to this kid and see what you think and send some tracks." So I had sent some stuff I did, and we vibed. We talked on the phone, and now he's coming in on the 11th, and he'll probably be the first project out of that room.
That's awesome.
I mean, I'm tweaking it all now these next 2 weeks.
Sure.
All my stuff is in there, so I'm basically done. It's really just shooting the room and just getting placement on some of the sound treatment right. Most of the sound treatment's built into the walls, but for the stuff that's clouds and other stuff, it's just we're shooting the room, which it'll be done probably by this weekend. So yeah, I mean, that's how it happens a lot of times. People will just hit me, whether it be on Facebook or on Instagram or through people, and look what he's doing. He's FaceTiming me. I'm sorry I had to do that. Scribble's FaceTiming. Okay, can you believe this? Is that insane? So yeah, so that, I mean, it's kind of random sometimes, but most of the time it comes through somebody. And yeah, I'm always taking on new projects.
Are there any producers right now that you follow, or you like anybody's sound, or anybody who's doing anything now?
I mean, I like Coco Drills. I love Martinez Brothers. I like the sound, their sound. I like what they do. Producer wise, I like Oliver Dollar. There's a few guys that I like their sound.
There's
I
just
love the Camel Fat guys with the Cola record. I think that
Yeah,
record's
it's a great
great.
record,
I
Cola.
love it.
That has a chance to be a classic.
I love it. I think it's a great record.
That's actually a big record.
Yeah, there's not many records that come out that feel like that record.
Yeah.
Like you I could see myself playing that record for a while.
I can see you playing that record and working it into a set that you would not normally play it in.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, as long as you're in a house
Yeah,
situation.
yeah, of course.
But you could work that record in.
It's a catchy record
Oh,
that
absolutely.
people can actually sing along to.
Yeah, I think it's a vocal.
Yeah.
Amazing. In this era.
It's coming back. It's coming back.
I hope it does. I love vocals.
You're gonna play some of your stuff for us?
I'm going to probably play all my stuff, I guess. Is that...
Yeah, no, that's what
That's
we
allowed,
do.
yeah.
I mean, I'll play whatever I have in there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely some of my stuff and whatever's in that computer.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming down, taking the time.
I
to
had
sit with us.
I had a great time. It's amazing. The spot is amazing.
Thank you.
All right, we're
You
gonna
guys are
take a
great.
2-minute break, and we're gonna get Anthony up on the decks. Peace.